Okay, so we are getting ready to get started. If you haven't put your name in the chat as a sign-in, go ahead and do that. I'm Allie Moore. I'm an intern with the Office of Financial Empowerment, and today we're going to be hearing from Sean Miranda, who is with the Financial Planning Association of Kentuckiana. So if you want to go ahead and take it away, Sean. Thanks.
Absolutely, Allie. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yes, my name is Sean Miranda. I'm a certified financial planner with Baird, but I'm representing today the Financial Planning Association of Kentuckiana. I've been involved with the FPA for quite some time, and the FPA is an association of people just like me that work with people in regards to financial planning. Last year, I was honored to be the president of the Financial Planning Association, and I noticed that there wasn't we were missing the mark on our pro bono work. And after my year, I decided to take it up and become chair of the pro bono program in the local area, which really is all of Kentucky and Southern Indiana. So hence the Kentuckiana name here. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. Hopefully can y'all see that okay? Okay, good. All right. So today's topic's a little unique, a financial fire drill, kind of interesting. I'm not sure if, you know, fire drill has anything to do with finances, but we're gonna kind of blend the two. A little bit of more about me, because I'll just talk about myself, I guess. Is that I'm a native of Louisville, Kentucky here, and I also have four daughters. They keep us very busy. And one thing I have not done as I was preparing for this presentation is walk through our kids in our home that I'm working from right now and talk about a fire drill. You know, if something happens to them in the middle of the night, I've dropped the ball. You know, I really haven't had a discussion with them regarding what would happen and what they should do and how they should react if there is a fire in our home. And walking away from this is something I'm going to talk to them about. Same goes with finances. I believe everybody here is working through the metro and is employed. So you all have a job, but it can be lost under certain circumstances. Last year was a good example of that. And I think that when you, let me try to get there we go. You know, when you think about the overall landscape of employment, last year was certainly a challenge. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. My goal today is to give you the tools to walk away and able to help out other people with creating a safeguard in the event that they lose employment. Okay. You know, it's something that we don't like to talk about. It's uncomfortable. There's probably a very large lack of confidence in the sense that people are not prepared for that. So they don't want to prepare for that. They may already be in the hole in regards to their overall balances of how much they owe and how much they own. And I have 3 worksheets that I've emailed over to Joey that he'll be forwarding over to you all. And we're going to walk through those as well. Now, as I mentioned, I am a certified financial planner. On the call as well as Clint Eagles. He is this year's president of the FPA, and Clint, thank you for joining us. And we are our main role is to help people reach goals in the financial capacity, whether it be sending their children to college, helping people focus on retirement. That's a big obvious issue we have, but everybody needs to prepare for the unexpected. And that's where we normally start off in the financial planning process. So not all times are good. You know, we've been blessed in regards to the overall economy to survive one of the greatest detriments that we've seen for years. And this presentation is certainly outdated, and I apologize. But as you can see, it talks about a little bit about 2010, and I tried to blend some information about 2020. But 1 out of 10 people almost didn't have a job last year when unemployment peaked at 9%. It's a sad situation that COVID put us all in. Those people probably walked away from their job without a safeguard. And it doesn't take much as long as you have the tools to create that type of safeguard and put that in place. And it's important to know what type of buckets to put money into and where do you start. It can be very overwhelming. So these forms that we're going to walk through a little bit is to give you the tools in order to make sure that you can guide people in that right direction on their own as well. There's a lot of things we can control, but there's a lot that we cannot. We cannot control the overall economy. We cannot control the stock market. And we certainly, for the most part, can't control job security. There's a lot of people who worked in restaurants last year that were very good at what they do, but they got let go. And so it's very challenging for those type of people who have confidence that
I think he's frozen or might have or computer might have got stuck.
Yeah, I'm also not seeing him. Give me just a
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a buzz, see if I can connect with him. He may be having some internet issues.
If you all see me looking to the side, I'm looking at the bigger screen so I can see everything. Cause I got my side view and I'm looking at the bigger screen monitor so I can see everything.
Hey everybody, I just connected with Sean on the phone and he's trying to reboot his system, so hopefully that will work and we can jump back shortly. Sorry for the delay. It kind of seems one of the things that we just have to deal with in today's environment.
the joys of technology. Thank you.
Yeah.
This will
Well,
give us another chance, if you're just joining us, or even if you're joining us by phone, if you'd want to drop your name in the chat or on just to make sure I get your name down and you get credit. We haven't had a chance to do that yet while we're waiting.
and what I can try to do, I'll try to moderate the chat room. If anybody has a question as we go through things that they don't,
Am I
I
back?
guess you can. You're back.
Oh
Yes,
man, I'm so
awesome.
sorry, everybody. I have no idea what occurred there, and obviously my internet is a little shaky. I didn't realize that. Weather can screw everything up, I guess. I apologize. I don't know where I left off, but let me just kind of really recap real quick. And I do apologize. I'm gonna go ahead and try to share my screen once again. I got two screens here, so I'm putting you all off to the side. And I'm going to get right here. Anything like that look familiar to you guys? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right, let's get back on track. I won't take up 2 hours, I promise. I really have about 30 minutes of a presentation for you guys, so don't worry, that 10-minute gap, I apologize about. But yeah, obviously there's a lot of things we can control. There's a lot of things that we can't. The purpose on getting confidence and gaining confidence in such a crazy situation that we could be in when we lose our job is to reference back towards those guidelines. If you stay in a hotel, you look at the back of that door, you're going to see instructions on exactly how to exit that hotel in the event of a fire. Same situation. If a problem occurs in your life and you lose employment, having something like that, some instructions to fall back on, is going to be very beneficial and really calm your nerves so that you can get back to employment. I'm still here, don't worry. There we go. How financial planning can help? It's really a 6-step process in what we do every day. We gather information from our clients. We determine what they want to do. We assess the situation, looking at all of their investments, all of the things that they lend. We create the overall financial plan, and then we execute it. The 5 steps are done within the first year where we're creating a plan for a client. And then we constantly monitor that because things do change. People lose jobs, they get promotions, a lot of things can happen. But having a plan does put you in control. And the goal is building financial strength to cope with that adversity. So in step 1, when we talk about all of the type of goals that you have, the one thing that Clint and I always bring to the table is, are you prepared for the unexpected? Not only for unemployment, which we're focusing on today, but even in loss of life. You know, if something were to happen to you, does your family have what's needed in order to carry forward? So that's a big conversation that we have. So financial fire drill, we pretend that income stops. So if the income stops, where do we turn? We look at the current income, we look at current expenses, we try to reduce the expenses that we have. You might want to say that, okay, maybe I'll take a part-time position. Am I able to make do in those circumstances? So this is an outdated form called the emergency spending plan. There's a new one that I sent to Joey. This is the one of 4 forms that we have, 3 forms rather, to send over to you all that you can use and hand out to your clients. And what you'll find here is your current situation, and then what would happen in the worst case scenario. But if you look at step 2, they talk about survival, lifestyle, and comfortable. I don't like those words. I use the terms pretty much every day when I'm talking to somebody about their cash flow, but I like using needs, your wants, and your wishes. Okay. So the first step is looking at overall how you spend your money on a monthly basis, and then categorizing each one of the expenses. Okay. Housing, that is a need, but maybe a Netflix, that could be a wish or a want. Okay, not as a high of a level as something happens into your situation. You have room to make adjustments, and the adjustments don't have to happen after you lose your job. By the way, to have a trial run can really help people try to figure out in 2 different ways. By living as if you don't have that job right now, you can take a lot of that money and just go through a sacrifice type of period of moving some of that money towards certain goals, and one of them is having that emergency fund. But right now we're talking about the cash flow. So you can categorize everything in regards to needs, your wants, your wishes, and then from there, keep that on file at all times so that people know they can reference this quickly to make any adjustments that they need. And then you want to add also in the scenario of losing your job, you can research now to find out what type of unemployment benefits that you're able to receive. Again, I already addressed the needs, wants, and wishes. They talk about survivable, livable, and comfortable. But really, we want to focus on, can you cover those survival needs? And if you can't, it's really now time to focus on creating an emergency fund to cover those expenses for a certain period of time. After you go through your cash flow, what's coming into the home and what's going out from the home, then we look at tallying up all of your assets. What do you own? What do you own outright? And what do you owe for some of the stuff that you own, like a mortgage, credit card debt, other loans that are out there? You want to make sure that you can include everything. And sometimes people miss the things that they own. So we have another sheet for that. Okay. You can go on there and you can see, and this is, we have another updated version of this, by the way, which will be emailed to you all. It's categorized by what you owe, assets, and what you, what you own, assets, and what you owe as liabilities, credit card balances, mortgage, car loans, taxes that you may own, insurance loans, so forth. By taking the sum of everything that you own and reducing it by how much you owe, you ultimately end up with your net worth. Here's your first sign of confidence, possibly, is knowing that you own more than you owe, and you have a positive nest there that you could use as a resource, in the event that something unexpected occurs in your life. And if it's not, then we need to take some other steps to improve the situation. How to build the emergency fund. The ultimate goal, Clint and I talk to everybody about, people don't come to us really to talk about setting up an emergency fund. That's not the typical conversation that we start off with. They come to us to talk about, okay, am I on track for retirement? Can I send my kids to college? And then we press the brakes and say, okay, do you have 3 to 6 months of living expenses in a very safe investment account, maybe a savings account, a money market, just to make sure that you're covered, and that then we can go towards the further goals. Not that they're not as important, but we have to make sure that that your other goals aren't going to be affected by the unexpected when that happens. Okay, because we do have to make sure that you can keep a roof over your head, food on the table for your family, and make sure that those needs are met until you find other employment. When you go through that process, the net worth may be negative, but it's very important not to feel discouraged in that scenario. It's important to know that you have the time and you are in a position right now to make adjustments to the plan. Because as soon as you have that emergency fund set aside to cover all of your survival needs for 3 to 6 months, then you can move forward and start tackling other goals that you may have in your life on a financial basis. Zipping out the essentials. You all may have heard, if you go out and you grab a cup of coffee every day, that's $500 a year. Usually they say it's $2 to get coffee every day. Let's say just the weekdays. That's $500 that you can set aside for your emergency fund. And think about your big necessities. I mean, if you're underwater, maybe you look at possibly cutting out what type of car you have and going with a little bit less of a car. And something that's also important is also to talk to your family. Like I referenced at the beginning, I've got 4 daughters, and I've dropped the ball in talking to them about a fire drill. you need to have your entire family on board. This does two things. One, it helps you know that they're prepared in the event that something happens. And number two, it helps them prepare not to panic in the event that they see that you've lost your job. Okay. Got to get rid of debts. I don't know if you all know who Dave Ramsey is, but you want to rank all the debts based upon the balance or your interest rate or the monthly minimum. You want to make sure you've got all that information. And the third sheet that we have for you all is the debt management plan here, where you can rank all the debt that you have. And the goal here, let's say, the mission is to make sure that you want to tackle all of the debt before you start saving more for an emergency fund. You want to get yourself out of debt as much as possible. Now, a mortgage is something that obviously would be great if no one had a mortgage, but it's a little bit more manageable. Interest rates are a lot lower than a car loan or certainly credit card debt. So by itemizing everything on this sheet and start taking any surplus funds you have while you're employed and tackling this and attacking the credit card debt, you're on the right track. And this will give people the confidence to make sure that they are making the right decisions. So if you have cash, save it. Make sure you have 3 to 6 months worth in an account, and that could take years to build. And if you have credit card debt, attack that before saving more cash in the account, because we know money market rates, and well, you may not know, but I'm not sure if anybody doesn't know, but CD rates don't pay you anything. Money market doesn't really pay you anything. Credit card debt certainly costs a ton of money right now. Interest rates are horrible. And so it's really important not to continue to dig that hole deeper in debt and really try to get yourself out of that situation. Another option, when it feels overwhelming, is to talk to your lenders. See if there's a way in order to adjust the loans that you have. Ask for reduced rates, avoid their fees and penalties. You'd be surprised what type of feedback you can get from the lenders when you have these type of situations, especially since COVID has happened. There have been a lot of changes in regards to their programs and debt management. We have a sample letter. It's not attached as a single sheet, but Joe does have the actual presentation, and you're welcome to take this letter as a draft in order to help you create your own letter to send off to credit card companies and other loan programs that you may feel a bit overwhelmed. It doesn't hurt to ask. A few words of caution, though. Be careful if you end up paying more in interest over more years. You hear a lot about consolidating your loans. That might work for some people. Oftentimes it's a gimmick, and there's another slide where we're going to warn you against that. But be careful on falling for commercials of consolidating your debt. There's resources that you have available on other slides that I'm going to share with you here in a moment. Home equity is a lower interest rate loan that you could consider. Let's say you have thousands of dollars in credit card debt, and you just can't tackle it. It's not there. The science just shows that you cannot save enough to pay the minimums if in that scenario. A home equity line of credit is above and beyond your mortgage. You're also possibly able to borrow a little bit more, and it's a way to tap into the equity of your home, minus the mortgage amount that you already have borrowed against, and that's the equity that you have built in your home up to a certain point. And the interest rate, because you have collateral, which is your home, is a lot lower than a non-collateralized loan like credit card debt. That could be an option, but just remember, in the sense that if you start falling behind on equity line payments, you could lose your home. We don't want to go through that type of situation. So again, they're here, believe that you'll be able to receive this presentation, and you can talk to HUD-approved counseling agency in order to see if there's a little bit better options in your situation. Job loss is a fact of life in good times and in bad. We saw it the worst last year. I've got, there's too many people. I don't know if anybody here on the call is not affected in any way, shape, or form. Families losing and friends losing their jobs. And this, I wish we gave this this presentation about 1.5 years earlier in order to help them prepare. But 3 things that I believe that can help you emotionally, which is just as important as getting it through financially, is keep looking forward, keep moving, get outside, stay active, and look down and look at the children and the family that you have around you. Again, you have to remember those kids and your family, the spouse that you have, they're looking on you, to you for some type of foundation here emotionally as well. And if you're panicking, it's going to multiply with children. It can multiply with the spouse. So having this confidence really does help avoid that ripple effect overall. You do have unemployment. You could have qualify for unemployment insurance, and you have oh, okay, just making sure you're still there. Research before you lose your job, research what if you qualify for COBRA and how much that would cost over time. You can build that into the what if scenario, and possibly see if there's coverage through your spouse's job. You might be on 2 plans because insurance companies nowadays don't want to offer a family plan if one other spouse is also covered through insurance. But in the event that you're not covered any longer, you might be able to hop onto their plan, and you just want to get those numbers and revisit your fire drill. Go to that first worksheet that we talked about. One place that I really discourage you taking money out of and considering it an emergency fund, those retirement accounts, your 401k, 403b, your Roth, your IRA. Not only is it a detriment to your retirement plan, and I understand that has to take a pause in regards to making sure that that's a goal, but what's really important about retirement accounts is the amount of money you receive is not the same amount of money that you're pulling out of the retirement account. What I mean by this is, let's say you have an IRA account, you want to take out $5,000 out of the IRA account. First of all, you got to pay taxes. You never pay taxes on that IRA money before. So you have to pay income taxes on that at that point in time. Plus, if you're over or under the age of 59 and a half, there's a 10% penalty on there. So you're looking at a good third, if not more, of that money walking out the door. So that $5,000 may be, $3,000 in your pocket at the end of the day. But here's the big kicker. If you do have to file bankruptcy, your retirement accounts are protected. So you still have that if you file bankruptcy. So it's really important not to start pulling money out of retirement accounts if you can prevent that. There are also community resources to take a look at. Free tax help, as well as food stamps, home heating assistance, lunch programs at school, job placement and training centers, food banks, many of which you all know more than Clint and I here. He gave me a list of some links that could also help. One that I've been very impressed by is Prizen. I'm sure you all are more familiar with these programs, but I think that this is a nice little cheat sheet here of some of the tools that are available. I know those links are hard to write down right now, so don't bother, but I'm happy to forward them over to you. You can, and we have our email address for FPA here in just a moment at the end here. Like I mentioned before, watch out for scams, offers to get those government grants, easy work at home deals. That I guess working at home is something that we all work at home from now. So it's a little bit of a different term nowadays. But back when they created this presentation, they're talking about the type of programs where you pay a lot of money because you've been sold the opportunity, the idea that you're going to be able to cash flow, but doing very little in order to do that. The money could easily be wasted. Consolidation loans, they drastically reduce your debts and your mortgages. I would really look for counsel before going through any type of these commercials that you find. They could easily be scams. Again, watch your stress level. Children can really exaggerate the fears that you may come across. And weathering the storm, again, this whole process is to make sure that you all know, you and your clients know that they do have some control. If they start splitting up the needs, the wants, the wishes, you've given them a glimpse of confidence. If they can do it now, they have the time to start saving for an emergency fund, or they have the time to start attacking the debt. If they wait, it's too late. So building an emergency fund will help, but the first step is the cash flow. Like I mentioned, there are resources that we have available as well at plannersearch.org, or one FPA now that's been updated. Our phone number there is at the bottom, 244-0700. The FPA Kentuckiana email at Gmail. We receive those emails and happy to answer any questions that you have ongoing. I've talked way too long. I know there's a few questions out there. Clint's kind of attacked a few for us. I'm going to open it up. Can anybody think of some questions to ask me at this moment? I didn't do that good of a presentation, guys. I mean, I know that there's some questions out there, so feel free to shoot. I'm happy to chat. And again, I'm really sorry for the internet snafu that we had before. One of them about the PowerPoint. Yes, Allie already attacked that. Yes, we'll be sure that you have that, as well as the updated forms at your disposal. Any other questions for me? Oh, Vanessa's got a good question. What are the costs of our services? Now, on the third slide I mentioned, we are not here to promote ourselves. We're not here to sell our services or anything like that. Every advisor charges differently. So it's very challenging for me to tell you exactly what we would charge. This is a service of altruism. We're trying to help the community, make sure that everyone can get on the right foot. A lot of times, I will speak for myself, we work with people when they already have saved money, okay? I'll plainly say that's the focus of our real day-to-day job, is helping people manage what they already have. And that's where we get paid, okay? So this scenario could be even more important, okay? People who don't have anything, who don't have an emergency fund, they're just trying to make sure that the last check doesn't bounce, and that they make sure everything is cash flowing every month. We see the need, and that's why we're here today. We're not here to talk about our fees or working with us here. There are resources out there. At the end of the day, when people get on their feet and then want to make those moves, check out that website that I mentioned, plannersearch.org, in order to help make find the right person for you, like Clint and I. Once a person has the emergency fund, how much percentage should they save? Okay, that's a very good question. There's a few ways to answer that question. Number one, it's a dollar amount that people should save for their emergency fund, okay, 3 to 6 months. And by the way, 3 months when they're like younger, when they have a salary, okay? 6 months when they're older and they're on commission, because you see that wild wave of different um, uh, checks coming in every month. Okay, so we err on 6 months when you're getting closer and closer to retirement, like when you're in your late 40s or early 50s. You want to start to have 6 months worth of those the needs. Okay, the needs, the wants and the wishes, we know we can scrap that. Okay, but the needs have to be covered. You just multiply that number times 6. Okay, and that's how much you should have. Beyond that amount, or when we've reached that goal with clients, then we talk about saving for retirement. Um, everybody's a little different. Okay, so I'm going to share a little secret with you, because we get this question all the time. I mean, I'm sure Clint does. How much do I need to save for retirement? I don't know. How much you spent? Yeah, that's always my answer. I mean, everybody's different. Their cash flow needs are completely different. Um, there's one number in your life that can kind of give you an idea of how much you should save, and that's your salary. If you live within your means, uh, you can use your salary, your income every year, as a bearing on how much you should save. And here's what I mean. If you are a 30-year-old and you want to retire at full retirement age of 65 on 75% of your pre-retirement income, because usually when you retire, you don't need to spend as much. Then at 30, you should have 2 times what your salary is. So if you're making 50 grand a year at 30, you should have $100,000 invested. Okay. I'm sorry. At the age of, I'm saying this backwards. At the age of 30, you should have half. So to be on track, 50, you should have $25,000 saved in assets. It doesn't have to be a 401k. It can be a rental property. It could be, but that's the total net of how much you should have. At the age of 40, you should have 2 times. Okay. So if you're making more, you're probably spending more. And to be on track, as this continues, you need to have 2 times. If you're making $75,000 a year and at the age of 40, you should have 150 grand saved for retirement. Now I'm getting off topic here, but I'm happy to answer this. 50, you should have 4.25 times. Okay, make 100 grand, you should have $425,000 saved at that point in time, and it continues to escalate over time. In order to start and be sure you're on track, the goal of what percentage you should save typically is between 12 and 15% of your income in some type of retirement account. Now there's caps on how much you can put in certain types of accounts. So that's where, when you graduate from, again, the emergency fund is tackled in one, then you move forward talking about, okay, how much can I afford to put away into retirement? And if you get used to saving at a young age, you're just used to it. It's just something that you're just going to continue to be used to. All right.
Hey, Sean, can I make a quick comment?
No, this is my presentation, Clint.
I'm going to anyways. I think one of the biggest things for people that can be, for somebody to really take control of their finances, those sheets that you talked about earlier of listing your assets, your liabilities, and then what your inflows and what your outflows are for the home. There are some things that we can all clean up. If you have some small lingering credit cards, erasing those and celebrate those wins, right? When you get rid of that credit card, celebrate. That's huge. But what's really, really critical, if you just freed up $100 a month that usually goes towards that credit card, make sure you're diligent, and that $100 has a new purpose in life. It could be increasing your 401k or 403b savings. It could be increasing your emergency reserve cash. But what you don't want to do is eliminate debt over here and create debt over here, because essentially you didn't gain any ground there. And so as you start to clean up that balance sheet, and maybe over the next 12 months, you freed up $500 a month. Have a plan for what that newfound $500 is going to do for you, because you're already accustomed to that money leaving the household, right? So it's not, if you're taking that money and applying it to other debts, it's not affecting the way that you live. And then, but what I'll also encourage people to do is if you freed up that $500 a month, you know, take a line $50, $100, whatever it needs to be, and celebrate on yourself, right? Go out to dinner an extra time a month, or do something, right? Because if all you're doing is just scraping and crawling, it can get really hard over the long term, because you're not going to wipe out debt, all of your debt, most people, in the next 6 to 12 months. So reward yourself as you're cleaning up the balance sheet, but also be very mindful and have a purpose for every dollar that's coming into the house. That's how you make a big difference over time.
Very good point, Clint. Thank you for that. Elaine, you have a question here. Is the percentage split under your plan 50, 20, 20?
What I mean by that is, as far as your 3-point plan in your spreadsheet, it used to be where you would do a percentage split. 50% of your income is going to go to your living expenses, your needs. 20% will go to savings, 20% will go to wishes. Of course, your 10% should go to your religious affiliation if you have it. But when I first started this financial journey many years ago, that was the structure. So I was wondering if that base has changed over the years.
That's a very good starting point, especially when you're trying to figure out your way. When you first you get your first job and you're in the real world, is tithing is obviously a very important piece of this, but also there's a dollar amounts. I mean, we're really trying to itemize everything and categorize everything nowadays, to know that there are things that we can live without. So but if you're trying to save, that is a good bearing on making sure that you can cover certain situations. When you buy a home, it used to be too easy to qualify for a mortgage, and we learned through the financial crisis that people were handed mortgages well above what they could genuinely afford. Now, I believe the mortgage companies have done a very good job of, I know they're probably just protecting themselves, but the goal here is to make sure that they're only going to lend and only allow you to, they're going to lend you enough to buy a home that you can reasonably afford, and that's why it takes a lot of paperwork to get a home and all that kind of stuff. So it's usually adjusted on a dollar amount of your overall income, 20-25% for your mortgage. So it can be a piece, but percentages aren't really the focus for us. We really need to know the true amounts, because it gives you a false sense that you're doing the right thing if you're really underwater, if the 50-20-20 won't work.
Got it. Thank you.
You got it. I rambled a lot on that answer. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Any other questions for me? Well, if you do, please don't hesitate to shoot us an email. We're happy to chat. We will get this PowerPoint out to you. I guess Allie's going to make sure Joe takes care of that. Happy to answer any questions that you all have. If you need to kind of refresh this a little bit, please let us know. I didn't prepare very well on this, but we do have more seminars coming up. And the good news is I won't be presenting all of them. Got Clint here, he's going to be presenting, as well as other CFPs that are going to be able to really kind of cover other topics as well. I'm very excited in this relationship. This is new for me. It's new for the FPA. And I really hope that we can continue this ongoing service to help you and your clients gain confidence. That's what we're here for. And thank you. Allie, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean, and to FPA of Kentuckiana for giving this presentation. And just a reminder, as I said earlier, that we will be sending out the PowerPoint as well as post survey later today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to joseph.cecil@louisvilleky.gov. And this is for this presentation as well as the certification program in general. Oh, also, if you haven't either signed in through the chat or if you're dialing in, just take a second just to say your name, just to make sure that we have you down for attendance so that you'll get credit for being here. Outside of that, thank you all so much for being here today. Bye.